India has developed a complex tradition of student politics dating from the day of Congress party domination. Student unions are organized both within universities but affiliate with the political parties, as in the case of ABVP, NSUI, SFI, etc.
This time in the elections you see actually only one left panel which is complete and which is strong enough to counter the ABVP.
तमाम सारे इश्यूज को लेकर के हम लोग अलग-अलग चिंताधारा रखते हैं, लेकिन इस बार का जो इलेक्शन होगा उस पे हम लोग यूनाइटेडली आए हैं इस यूनियन इलेक्शन में.
The latter compete in the university elections to control posts in the affiliated organizations, whereas students belonging to private universities have been deprived of their demand to hold election process in their respective universities. Hello, very good evening to all. I'm Jilani Mehraj and you are watching Question Hour. Tonight we are going to debate over a demand which has been raised time and again and has been swept under the carpet by various stakeholders. Dear viewers, the demand which is yet unmet is why there are no student elections in private universities. Tonight with me on the panel I have senior journalists Mr. Prabodh Jain, we have Mr. Shaheen Nazar and a faculty member of Mass Communication Department, Ms. Parvati Ramaswamy, and also a senior journalist, Mr. Vineet. To open the debate, I'd like to put this question out to all of my viewers sitting over there and to all of my panelists sitting over here. Does India assume that future leaders can only emerge from a governmental institutions? If not, why do private universities are non-existent when it comes to student politics? I'd like to ask Mr. Prabodh Jain, what's his take on this?
So you raised up very pertinent question regarding the election process which takes place in universities. So to my belief, I think why not? Private institutions should also be given chance to hold election process, elections in their respective universities as government institutions are allowed, because private institutions are also a benchmark of world-class education and everything is there. So why not elections also? They have equal opportunities to participate in elections, and obviously leaders can emerge from there also. In the past we have seen that CEOs, MDs have emerged from private institutions. So why not political process should not? Why not political process should be there? It should be there. It must be there, I think.
I think ideally he is right. All the private institutions should also hold elections. But my question is, why to discuss only private institutions? This student activism is non-existent even in government universities, barring few major universities like JNU, DU and Allahabad University maybe. I don't hear any election news that that university is holding union election. And I remember when I was a student way back maybe 30 years back, since then, I'm talking of 70s, this process of not holding election in government universities and colleges had started then only. And unfortunately, if you see these Lalu Yadav and Sharad Yadav and Paswan and all these leaders, they have come through a student movement. But even they have not been holding elections. While they got power, they are in power for last more than 25 years. Lalu Yadav and JDU, Nitish Kumar, but they have not organized any election in Bihar, or even if it has been organized, it was just in namesake. So there is a tendency of our politicians or our political class not to hold elections, student elections. I don't know where from the leadership would come.
Ms. Parvati.
To add on to them, I would like to say that as Shaheen said that there are only few areas or few colleges like DU, JNU, Allahabad University or Punjab University for that matter, the ABVP which is very popular. The idea is these universities already have existing political or for that matter the student unions which have been going on for decades or for years together. Problem is, because they already have this setup there for so many years, it becomes easier for the students to know that there is a grouping here which is involved in student activism. Unfortunately, whether it's private universities or other colleges, students themselves do not take this initiative because it is not encouraged, or rather this is not told to them that this must be something that they can do as part of their college life. The idea of being part of a union is not just related to, or not just how do you put it, limited to just political activity. It goes much beyond
The
that.
enthusiasm in this and all.
Exactly, it's about mobilization of students. It's about getting them involved in making your college name come out more in the open, involving your college in other extracurricular activities. So I think there it needs to be more. It's lacking.
Well, we have heard from Mr. Prabhujan and Shaheen Nazar, Ms. Parvati. I'd like to ask Mr. Vineet, what's your take on this? How do you see that if does India literally see their future leaders coming from governmental organizations, governmental institutions, sorry, and if not, why do private universities are literally non-existent when it comes to student elections?
Yeah, this is good. Some prominent leaders come from student politics in India. But last few years we have seen the JNU case, Hyderabad Bemula case, and even West Bengal Jadavpur University, and also Allahabad University. Students unions went on wrong side, because politics is in my life. In student, I came from student union also. But when we are working on student union, there are some constructive, we come constructing brain, constructive ideas. But this time in government university, they are in destructive mind, anti-nationalist, they are. तो इस कारण से जब आप विरुद्ध में जा रहे हैं, एंटी नेशनलिज्म की ओर जा रहे हैं, या फिर डिस्ट्रक्शन तरफ जुड़ रहे हैं, तो दिस इज नॉट फेयर फॉर गवर्नमेंट यूनिवर्सिटी.
all the student unions and all the types of student activism should be painted
I'm not
with
blame
one
on
brush.
any particular party. I am from for students leaders.
No, but what
जब
you are saying that
अरुण जेटली, रजत शर्मा, या फिर और भी जो नीतीश कुमार, लालू यादव, they are come from students politics. But in this time, in last 10 years, how many?
Right, that's the latter part, that they merge the politics, that's governmental politics, and the student. It's like two-way street. Maybe in the future they would meet their ends. But the thing what we are going to we are debating over here is that why the private universities are non-existent when it comes to student elections. Why? Why
Because,
exactly is it like that?
यदि प्राइवेट यूनिवर्सिटी में राजनीति आएगी, स्टूडेंट आएंगे, तो वो अपनी जिम्मेदारी, अपने कर्तव्य, अपने अधिकार की बात करेंगे, जो ये प्राइवेट यूनिवर्सिटी में नहीं हो सकता. इसलिए नहीं हो सकता कि क्योंकि यहाँ पे ये फाइनेंशियल जो है वो स्टूडेंट के फाइनेंशियल पर जो फाइनेंस करते हैं उसके ऊपर चलता है. तो यहाँ पे एक मॉडल जो
ये सरकार का काम है ना, ये बताना कि स्टूडेंट इलेक्शंस होल्ड किए जा सकते हैं यहाँ. जैसे सरकार प्राइवेट यूनिवर्सिटीज को बाकी डायरेक्टिव्स देती है समय समय पर बाकी डायरेक्टिव्स देती है कि आपको ये करना है, ये करना है, उसी तरह इलेक्शंस भी होल्ड किए जा सकते हैं. और अगर एक बार गवर्नमेंट डायरेक्टिव इज देयर,
माफ कीजिएगा, मैं ये कहना चाहूंगा, दुनिया की जितनी बड़ी यूनिवर्सिटीज हैं वो सब प्राइवेट हैं, ऑक्सफोर्ड, कैम्ब्रिज वगैरह, और इन सब में स्टूडेंट इलेक्शंस भी होते हैं, स्टूडेंट एक्टिविज्म पूरे तरह से है, बल्कि वहाँ एक तरह की ट्रेनिंग होती है. यूनिवर्सिटी इज द ट्रेनिंग ग्राउंड फॉर आवर, इट्स नॉट ओनली मेंट फॉर स्टडीज.
head or how much the leaders at the university level are equally interested in having a student representative body at their
No,
end.
but he is right in saying that private universities themselves would not want any electioneering, sloganeering,
But that's not true for every university.
To suffice this question, I like to say it. I like to put it forth in this way. There's been a recent spurt. In the incidences of violence, strikes, protest movements in our educational institutions like JNU, FTII, Hyderabad University, etc., albeit for different reasons, right? So regardless of how genuine their reasons are, or not so genuine, the situation raises a very important question, which exactly is like, if it is allowed, how much politicization for a line has to be drawn somewhere, right? If literally the politicization is desirable from the universities, from the students, so should there be a silver lining? Should there be a line that has to be drawn? And more importantly, what kind of politics do we want?
Okay, so to answer that question, I think only somebody who hasn't studied history can talk in this manner. That okay, these kind of incidents have emerged recently.
Yes.
If you just cursorily study history, then also you will find instances that in India itself, that in 70s, student unions were quite present, quite active, and this is all part of the this maturing of democracy.
Maturity,
right? So incidences like these are not to be
blown out of proportion.
Yeah, blown out of proportion and seen in isolation. It should be collectively seen that okay, some incidences of this kind happened.
See,
but
there you is have to,
to
there is also counter reaction.
So you have to take what comes out of that, right? So that out of the churning, what you get. So definitely you will get that okay, the democracy is maturing, right, and students are fighting for their rights. Even in GNU case, if that was blown much out of proportion by TV channels, they were 24/7 broadcasting those images, right? So it was multifold by television channels.
As we say that what everyone would like, maybe the other person won't like. Right? So what's the sauce for goose is the sauce for gander. जो एक के लिए लागू होता है, दूसरे के लिए भी लागू होता है. Like this is how it has been put forth. So while all these incidents were happening, there were some people who were appreciating it. There were some people who were it should not happen
you
like
can
that.
paint everybody with the same brush, I guess.
And if we make it parallels with the private institutions, so what kind of politics should be over there in a private institution? Should it be like that way? Should we blame the strikes, the protests they carry?
It's a very difficult question to answer.
That's the only reason. Should we blame the protests? Should we blame the protests, strikes, whatever is happening for all the
it's
political
easier to
things?
blame one of these groups, saying that one is right, one is wrong in terms of to the extent of which they are involved in terms of violence or in terms of the strike. The idea is to properly channelize them. Perhaps you need a leader not just at the students level but also at the level of the university, perhaps to negotiate in terms of if the level of aggression reaches a level where you are saying the strikes happened or where it got out of proportion. So the idea is if you are reaching that particular level where there are strikes happening, it means that either one of the parties is not negotiating accordingly, which is why you have this problem.
Right. We have had her say. I'd ask Mr. Shaheen sir and Mr.
I think
Vinny.
we are putting too much emphasis on only election. I mean, okay, election is one way of getting representative body, represented student representatives, but there are very other ways also, like in private institutions. First thing we should bear in mind that private institutions are very new in our country, hardly 10 years or maybe 20 years. I mean, when we hear so many private universities have come up, so they are in the process of evolution. So that stage has not come, I think.
Are you saying that private institutions are not,
Ideally, I believe that yes, there should be a student unions, there should be, and they should come through election. But my point is that it's too early to demand an election from these private institutions. Another thing, all these universities have their representative bodies of students, like they have cultural societies, they have various clubs in the universities that is monitored by, or I would say regulated by, or headed and headed by faculty members. I know universities who are doing it, and they are not selecting a student, although apparently they are selecting, but the process of selection is also very, very democratic. If you go deep into those private institutions, you would know that the process is, they are following a very democratic process. So I think it's already there. Only thing is that union election is not taking place, so that would take time, but ultimately that will happen. You can't stop it. This is what my
But I think those to counter Shaheen ji, that okay, he's saying that there are so many clubs, but the point is these are all what should I say, co-curricular activities kind of, right?
Formalized bodies.
Yeah, not formalized bodies, as in
they are formalized bodies. No, sorry,
no,
they are
they might be formalized bodies, but they are
elected by students.
yes,
not elected, but the
so
process
students
of
don't
selection.
have any say in that. Students don't have
No,
their
I would say,
say
do
in
they
that.
have say? Yes, students do have say.
In one second, we are talking private institutions. But in Jamia in Delhi, Jamia have no student union. और जितने भी सेंट्रल यूनिवर्सिटी या प्राइवेट ये स्टेट 3 तरह के हमारे यहाँ 4 तरह के हैं, सेंट्रल यूनिवर्सिटी, प्राइवेट यूनिवर्सिटी, स्टेट यूनिवर्सिटी और फोर्थ है जस्ट मिसिंग बिट्स प्लानी वगैरह,
कुछ एडेड यूनिवर्सिटीज,
एडेड इंस्टीट्यूशंस। तो ये 4 तरह के इंस्टीट्यूशन में कहीं भी नहीं है। जो मेन है हमारा दिल्ली यूनिवर्सिटी, JNU या हैदराबाद यूनिवर्सिटी, FTI। लेकिन FTI का केस है जहाँ पे डायरेक्टर आपके आए, आपके उसके अगेंस्ट में आपने 4 महीने की हड़ताल कर दी। ये किसको घाटा हुआ? क्या डायरेक्टर को हुआ, गवर्नमेंट को हुआ, स्टूडेंट को घाटा हुआ?
नहीं, बट उसमें तो ये है कि आप किसी कॉज के लिए लड़ रहे हैं तो घाटा तो होगा।
ये घाटा हम
लेकिन
फायदे और नुकसान के टर्म से बात हम
पॉलिटिक्स है, और यदि आपका कैरियर में आपको ग्रोथ नहीं दे रहा है, आपको एक एक्टिविस्ट बना रहा है जहाँ की रिजल्ट 0 है, सिफर है, तो फिर व्हाट?
नहीं, अगर मतलब इस तरह, शायद मैं एक पॉइंट पे बस यहाँ खत्म करूंगा कि अगर इस तरह जेपी के टाइम में उस समय के स्टूडेंट लीडर्स ने भी यही सोचा होता कि शायद हमें क्या फायदा होगा, तो इतने सारे नेता उभर के आते ही नहीं।
हमें आज़ादी नहीं मिली हमें आज़ादी नहीं मिली होती अगर हमारे लीडर्स यहाँ रहे होते।
Students are not, there are students who are not just out there in private universities who are enthusiastic and who have their zeal and zenith about their studies and changing the scenario around, right? They are not only in governmental institutions, but there are students who are out there in private universities as well, right? So as we said, everybody needs to have their say, right? They are doing it by their own accordance, right? And when we talk of private institutions, they are stoic with it, right? They have all of it inside, but they can't put it out. Why exactly is like that? Why can't we change it? And they students, don't they have the, then after that we label them, right? Those people out there, they are much enthusiastic, they are much more, you can say, knowledgeable, rather than the institutions like, in private universities. So why there's so much of apples and oranges going around?
There are two ways to look at it.
Yeah.
Like I told you, the government universities, some of them already have established student unions which have been going on for a number of years. On the other hand, if on a private level there is a student union which comes up or bubbles forth, somewhere or the other over a period of time, either there is withdrawal of students from it because their causes, in the end, why would anybody join a student union? Because they feel their larger cause or their larger interest is being met.
Exactly.
If that very issue of their larger interest being met is not coming out, is not translating into reality, why would anybody be part of the movement? Similarly, what happened with the anti-corruption movement against the government? When people realized the movement is not what it started out for, it started fizzling out. So that is precisely one of the reasons why these student unions might be forming at the private institutions at the lower level, but as and when it turns out, when the need of the hour comes that it turns into something serious, perhaps people back out because of this reason.
But I think just to add what she said, initially in 75, if we talk about election process and student movement, etc., we can't say that nothing came out of it. Obviously, the larger vision which JP had was not materialized. Of course, that was not materialized, but it made a difference. It made a difference in the thoughts of how your students union can work, and it was the student movement initially in Gujarat, started from Gujarat and then went to Bihar and other places, right? So we can't say that nothing came out of it. Student mobilization was of course seen there, and so many, jails were filled with students only. So obviously in every decade you have some kind of events that want you to, as a student, come out in the open and raise your voice. This has happened in the last 2 years, 3 years. We have seen so many incidents of such nature, and that's what makes me think that their counterparts, government bodies, government institutions counterparts studying in private universities must be feeling that we should also be come in solidarity with them and raise our voices in our own institutions.
Exactly.
And that might be private institutions.
Just to add one small point, I think there should be more initiatives from the universities and from the government side to bring in workshops where you're telling students in what ways you can form student bodies, the right way to do elections.
I think that would not be very good. In the sense that government will say, okay, let's define how you should work towards making a body, because
defining
I mean,
precisely, just
I mean,
in
if
education.
government is involved in telling how to protest or how to go about it, how to do your sloganeering, how to make election process, then that would be detrimental in ultimate goal of
See,
raising your voice.
we have JNU, right? JNU.
yes.
It's much more deemed university. Everybody
Yes.
appreciates the studies
most
that
covered
goes
one
over there,
also.
right? So before all of the process, before all of the chaos that occurred over there, it was all like tapped over on their shoulders.
Something to
You're
look
doing
forward
good,
to.
you're doing good. But out of the blue, right? Like a bolt from the event, when that thing happened, when all of the Kanaya, all of those things happened, why has it been seen as in a grey shade now?
See,
Why is it like that? I'd like to ask this question. I'd like to ask this question, Mr. Shaheen sir. Why is it like
who
that?
says, I mean, that movement, I think JNU agitation.
Kanaya, he was like,
No, but
brutalized with
Kanhaiya
words.
became a national leader, national
See,
student
they are
leader.
leaders. He came
From
out.
a
He came
JNU
out.
student union president, he became a national figure, and in fact,
See, this is how students rise from
that
like ash
JNU
to, into a
agitation, and
phoenix.
before that Rohit Vemula agitation in Hyderabad, all these things had positive impact on our students. I mean, many students have started thinking in terms of union and raising their voice and their
Fighting for
strength.
their right, actually.
Now it's a very good thing. See, the problem is that the current government or the previous government, all the governments,
Why
all the
can't we
political,
see all of that happening over here?
all the political parties, they don't want. They come with the on the strength of the students, but they don't want a student
To
union
emerge,
or to emerge
yes,
leadership. Current leadership of the Janata Parivar, Sharad Yadav, Lalu Yadav, and Paswan and Nitish Kumar, all these leaders, they emerged from that JP movement only. But ironically,
So how do you see them? How do you see Sharad Yadav? How do you see them as? In a good way, in a bad way,
They have been a
whatever.
student leader.
Right,
But
they were.
when they got power, they discouraged.
Where did they come from? Where did they come from?
discouraged-
Where did they come from? Governmental organization? Governmental institutions?
Because at that
private
time, they were
Right,
they were
right,
organizations.
exactly,
See,
exactly.
this
At that time,
question-
they were just governmental institutions.
we are-
Still, there are governmental institutions.
What I'm saying-
No,
where
but
from the
now they
leaders
are
coming out. Why not
also
in
private universities.
Right?
There
There are
were
also
no
private
private universities then. As I said, it's a recent phenomenon.
Yes.
Very recent, hardly 10 to 15 years that we see so many private institutions, and it's too early to demand from them that you hold election.
And media also
These
doesn't
things
focus
can't
much
be
on the
imposed
private
from
universities.
outside.
All right.
But
See,
These-
do our
let-
institutions.
These things come from inside.
see,
Let this evolve. But I am saying another thing, that those existing institutions, like I know about AMU, every year there is a Lingdo Commission report, Supreme Court ruling, that all the universities must hold elections every year. But what they do conduct the election towards the end of the session. So the elected student leaders get hardly 3 to 4 months to work. So that way the system is trying to defeat, and it is succeeding. The system is defeating
लेकिन
that
that's
a
at
student.
the
लेकिन एक बात जो यहाँ पर है, हम प्राइवेट यूनिवर्सिटी में क्यों पढ़ने आते हैं? सबसे पहला है कि हम प्रोफेशनल
कहीं
कोर्सेज
भी
के लिए
क्यों
आते हैं,
पढ़ने
ठीक है?
जाते हैं?
जबकि हम प्राइवेट
यार-
गवर्नमेंट इंस्टीट्यूशन में प्रोफेशनल कोर्सेज नहीं
बट
हैं।
गवर्नमेंट
तो हमारा यहाँ
इसलिए
मकसद
नहीं जाते कि
भाई,
मुझे
किसने
नेता
कहना
बनना
नहीं,
है।
हमारा यहाँ मकसद होता है कि हम एक प्रोफेशनल कोर्स करें और सीधा हम मल्टीनेशनल कंपनीज में जॉब करें।
नहीं
तो
but
गलत है ना,
government-
सीधा।
हम अपने
ठीक है, और
स्टूडेंट्स को
हमारे
गलत
कोर्स-
रास्ते पर डाल रहे हैं भाई।
नहीं, हमारा यूनिवर्सिटी जो प्राइवेट है वहाँ पे केवल हम कर रहे हैं कि जो प्रोफेशनल है जिनको
मिनट,
जॉब
यानी-
चाहिए,
नहीं,
फिर
मैं ये
multinational
कहना
वहाँ पर।
चाहूंगा।
यानी जब वो
सुनिए,
मल्टीनेशनल
तो
हो
हम-
जाएंगे तब भी अपनी आवाज कभी नहीं उठा पाएंगे, क्योंकि उन्होंने एक्टिविज्म सीखा ही
देखिए,
नहीं है।
तो नहीं, ये तो आपकी
See,
चॉइस है कि आप प्राइवेट यूनिवर्सिटी में, हमारे यहाँ
we
इसलिए
see,
हैं कि
do our
आप-
institutions,
ये
we
तो-
have our institutions.
ये चॉइस नहीं है,
We
नंबर
have-
की चॉइस है। अगर उनके पास नंबर्स
सुनिए,
नहीं है गवर्नमेंट
whether
नहीं,
you are-
प्राइवेट
sir,
यूनिवर्सिटी नहीं है।
sir,
प्राइवेट यूनिवर्सिटी ऐसे गवर्नमेंट है
do
जहाँ
our
पे
institutions-
ऐसे ही है।
Just
See,
let
you
me add
cannot
one thing.
just
Student नहीं
say
है वहाँ।
Whether
our
you
do
are-
institutions
our
are
institutions
nature.
see do
Whether
our
just a
institutions do our institutions of higher learning do our institutions of higher learning enjoy the requisite autonomy so that they reflect democratic ideals that our nation espouses?
They don't. As of now, they don't. Of course, they don't. Because there is pressure, and they have to buckle
Their
under the
interest
pressure.
groups, their interest
FTI,
groups,
they had to. Gajendra Singh Chauhan was not terminated from his post. Ultimately, he
Despite
prevailed,
4
despite
months
so
of
much
agitation.
protest of continuing for 4 long months. He was
So
not.
what
But
factors
reality is-
what factors would
reality
affect this
zero.
autonomy? What factors would affect this autonomy if there is if there
There are
is a
interest
teeny
groups at
tiny bitty
work.
bit of it, you can say freedom given to them, this requisite autonomy given to them, what factors would affect that autonomy, if there would be any or if there is not?
See, autonomy is there, but that is not exercised. That is the problem.
That way private institutions are more autonomous than the government institutions in this scenario.
all these curriculum, all these
These days, like FTI case is there, that government never listened to the student demand. So what I am saying is that whether we are in professional courses, whether you are getting a professional degree or any degree, that degree is for knowledge, not for just job for getting.
Correct.
If your ultimate aim is to get into a multinational company, I think that your education is lost. I mean, that is one aspect of your education. Basically, you get education for learning, to get knowledge. And this student activism is part of that knowledge, and we should never forget it.
That should be
But again, I come to my point, that it's too early to demand from private institutions to hold elections. That will come, but that would take time.
But my gut feel is,
नहीं,
sorry
भारत
to
में भी
interrupt.
कई देश कई अभी भी यूनिवर्सिटी हैं, इवन दिल्ली में जामिया में, जहाँ पे 20 ईयर्स से अभी नहीं हो रहा है इलेक्शन, फिर भी वहाँ पे स्टूडेंट अच्छे कर रहे हैं. इसलिए कोई जरूरी नहीं है कि हर जगह हो और प्राइवेट में हो, क्योंकि ये आपका
Right,
self-finance
you
है
had
और-
your say, sir has had his say, he
Yeah,
has had his
I'll
say.
have my
I'll
last
ask-
word in the end, that my gut feel is that the governments who are suppressing student election is already those bodies which he is referring to, that 20 years there is no election, and other bodies also, that will hardly encourage in private institutions also elections. Yeah, that's my last statement.
So, as we can say, we have gone round and round and round, and we have come up to one point that there should be student elections or in private universities. So you agree to that? You agree to
First
that?
you clear कि
You agree to that?
What I have to do?
100%.
हमें जिंदगी में क्या करना है? पॉलिटिक्स में आना है तो फिर पॉलिटिक्स में, नहीं तो हमें प्रोफेशनल कोर्स
I
आगे
would
हमें
Let's have some
Disagree.
nods. Then we can have some
आपको
shakes,
clear होना
right?
होगा.
Let's
Clear
have
होना
some
होगा कि हमें
nods.
क्या करना
Let's
है.
have some nods. Then we can have a
Jilani,
shake.
I just
अगर
want
उसके
to
लिए
add.
अगर इस तरह की यूनिवर्सिटीज बन जाएं कि 12th के बाद आपके लिए पॉलिटिकल यूनिवर्सिटी यहाँ से
Not
आपको नेता का
political,
सर्टिफिकेट
not
मिलेगा,
political.
तो शायद वो
The
पॉसिबल
No,
है.
no, just
उसके
to
अलावा
add a point here, I think where we are getting lost with the debate is the idea is the election is just the first step towards any kind of a student union.
It's a
The
leadership.
ultimate aim is not that. Unfortunately, universities these days get lost with the idea of elections and forget what comes. The major idea of having a student union or a body is to represent the ideals of the people, their goals or what they are joining.
democratic
that particular-
ideals.
Exactly. So point is, election is just one step, the first step rather, towards selecting those people whom you trust would be leaders or would be the path breaking people who would help you achieve those particular ideals. In the end, whether that is being achieved or not is an
Right.
entirely different
So we
question.
have a nod there, we have a nod here, we have a nod there, and do we have a nod here or do we have a shake?
Student elections should be there or not.
स्टूडेंट इलेक्शन होनी चाहिए, स्टूडेंट होनी चाहिए.
Exactly.
लेकिन
Right.
आपके पढ़ाई के कॉस्ट पे नहीं, आपके एंटी बैड एलिमेंट्स के कॉस्ट पे नहीं,
That's-
कि हम वहाँ पे गोली बारूद चला रहे हैं, बंदूक चला रहे हैं, इसके अंतर नहीं.
So-
हम देश के कुछ नए निर्माण के लिए होनी चाहिए.
So in this debate, our panelists agreed that there should be student elections in our private universities. So to conclude, there should be elections going round in private universities. That's all for tonight. That was me, Jilani Mehraj. Thanks you.